Janelle's Irish Boxing, Weatherford, Texas. We're going to go over a couple shots. We're going to start with the proper way to throw your 1-2, proper way to throw your cross, and we're also going to clear the air on the difference between a pushing punch and a snapping punch. A pushing punch is where you're going to go through, leave it hanging out there, and a snapping punch is going to land flush and return back to the pocket. It's going to come ting and come right back off, using the momentum of the shot to bring the glove back to the pocket. So let's go over the 1-2. Now, as I alluded to earlier, with your cross, your two is one of the most important things that you can have fundamentally correct. Using the proper form, you're going to punch just as hard as if you were throwing it aggressively, and you won't have to use the energy, and you'll have the muscle memory practicing and always throwing it right. You'll save energy, and you'll save headache. So a couple things about the 2 to keep in mind. All your 2, your power on your 2 comes from a flush hit, number 1, snappy hit. It comes from a direct contact, a direct line of contact with the ground that's transferred from your back leg. You're going to load up your back leg, and it comes from your back leg. When you dip your knee in when you throw the 2, or you pivot your foot, or both, you're transferring that energy from the ground to your ankle, to your hips, to your shoulder. Finally, all of it's being transferred at the point of contact if you have full extension. So, looking at an orthodox stance, once you find your proper stance, you're going to try to keep your gloves high. Now, strictly looking at the feet, we're going to throw the 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. A little higher view for the gloves. Same feet. 1, 2. 1, 2. Making sure to rotate your glove in. When you put it all together, jab, straight line out from your chin. Left coming back to protect. There you go. Now that we have the 2 established, let's carry that on. Let's talk about combining your left hook with that. Just like your jab, setting up your cross. When you're maxed out on your cross, this shoulder's dead. All your momentum for your left hook is going to come. So let's talk about proper form for your hook. Okay, the left hook, there's been many great knockouts in boxing. Left hook is one of my favorite shots, and it's one of the most underutilized because it's hard to throw properly. Now, when I'm throwing my hook, it needs to be clean, crisp, effective. My shoulders are rotating. I'm landing flush. It's not raw power that's going to make your hook effective. It's technique. The left always needs to come back to the pocket, back to the chin to protect after it's thrown, and it's really all about, it's not trial and error so much as practice and form. Let's look at it. Your left hook needs to be thrown from, it needs to go and come back, number 1. Now, when you're looking at you can hear it on the bag when it lands flush, and that's the most important thing with your hook. Looking at the form, it's going to be feet rotating your front foot just a little bit. Okay? Now, that was a little loose. It landed flush, but it was loose. So you got to tighten it up. Did you hear that smack? So, 1, 2. I'm maxed out on my shoulder here. All my power from my hook, you want to try to draw it in. Okay? That's where a lot of your power from your hook comes from, is bringing it home. So, 1, 2, I'm maxed out here. Okay? It's all about this shoulder. Transferring all of your body in a twist, and finally ending with the shoulder. Now, if you'll watch, some people step in with their hook. I find it's only effective close range. Step it in like that. It's all about your shoulders. Transferring that energy. Feet, knee, hip, shoulders. Full extension and letting the energy go. You practice your left hook and you practice your form, and you'll come to find that it's a game changer. It's a fight winner. It's a pretty shot to throw. Let's talk about one of the most misconstrued punches in boxing, the overhand right. Now, despite what you think you might know about the overhand right, most people think that you're throwing, it's called an overhand right because you're throwing it, overhand. It's called an overhand right because it's coming over your opponent's hand, his jab, to be more specific. It's thrown just like any other right, but the left needs to be on your chin to protect yourself, okay? Now, some people have a problem with throwing it wide and telegraphing. They say, well, if you throw the shot wide, you're telegraphing your shot. Your hands do more telegraphing than anything. You'll notice that before you throw a punch, you'll squeeze your hand, or you'll drop your hand slightly, or you clench your jaw. That gives it away more than a flaring on your overhand right, because the wider you throw your overhand right, the harder it is for your opponent to see, because of not only his jab, but just anatomically speaking, it's coming from an angle he can't see. The wider, the harder it is to see. A looping right overhand is what you're going for here. Now, for your overhand right, all your power's in your back leg, just like it is a 2. And ideally, you would wait for his jab. He throws his jab, you're ready, it's controlled, it's snappy, right to the chin, right over his jab. Now, as opposed to a straight 2, you'll tend to lean forward or to one side when throwing your overhand right, and that's okay as long as you're leaning more to one side, not so much straight forward, straight backwards, and as long as you're not off balance. The thing about the overhand right is knowing when to throw it and how to throw it effectively. I have 2 different ranges on my overhand right, a short and a close. A close quarters clinch shot overhand right, and then my overhand right that I land from my jab range. Now, my close one, I tend to duck my head, but I'm also slipping while I'm throwing it, pivoting to the right most of the time. Sometimes I like to pivot into the left, pivot in, and throw my overhand right, just to throw them off. But you're losing that element of surprise, throwing it wide and him not seeing it if you slip into the left. So let's look at the overhand right. Okay, since my film equipment is dying and we don't have that much time, we're going to go over the difference between a snapping punch and a pushing punch, and then we're going to go over the overhand right. We're also going to touch on uppercuts. On your uppercuts, they need to be clean and crisp, and you don't need to bring your elbow back so much. So on your uppercuts, okay. Now, when talking about the overhand right, it's important to touch on a pushing punch. This is a pushing punch. Okay, leaving it out there, you're pushing through your target, as opposed to a snapping punch. See how the bag didn't move at all there? As opposed to, okay. Now on your overhand right, I have a combo 1-8-1-2, which is a jab, your overhand right, 1-2. Now, if you want to try to use a snapping pushing punch most of the time on your overhand, so 1, looping, right over the top of his jab. Okay, look at that again. Spot down where you can see it. You're going to want to throw so I throw that combo, 1-8-1-2. Now, to set that up effectively and finding your range on that shot is the most important thing, because throwing your overhand right, I've had more injuries to my wrist throwing my overhand right than anything. Hey, check out this new combo. Check this out. You like that? That was a 1-2, 6 to the body. 1-2, 6 to the body. 3-2. Now let's put an overhand right in that. Now, if you will rewind the video and see the perfect form from the transition, not perfect. Alright, and I'm humble. But what I'm saying is, that's practice. That's work. Blood, sweat, and tears. You're not Irish boxing. Alright, we're real quick before she dies, just go ahead and throw some shots. or outsiders boxing. Let it protect.